Welcome to Pastor's Chat today. Well, we're talking about some of the most exciting events that are described in the Bible called the Rapture, the tribulation period, and the millennial reign of Jesus Christ. Now, I know some of this will be repetition even today as we do a little review and prepare ourselves for our chapter by chapter study through the book of Revelation. But as we are doing these talks and chats on the rapture and tribulation, I'm getting some questions, and some of them I'd love to be able to answer. Two of the questions I often get is, when will the Old Testament saints be raptured? Will they get, or I should say, resurrected? They're not going to get raptured because they're already in the grave, and their bodies probably are way gone as far as the dust of the ground is concerned. But there will be a resurrection. As a matter of fact, Job talked about it, others talked about it, and we know that there will be a resurrection of the Old Testament saints. But when will that be? And boy, I tell you, there's a lot of questions about that, a lot of answers that are given, and a lot of pastors don't talk about it and teachers because the scripture's not really clear. All I can do is tell you, as I've studied it over the last few days, that I've understood that Pentecost, Dwight W. Pentecost, who was the teacher of at Dallas Theological Seminary for years and taught many of the guys like Tim LaHaye and Harold Wilmington and others their theology, he believed that the rapture of the, the resurrection of the Old Testament saints will take place at the end of the tribulation. At the end of the tribulation. That was his take on it. I don't have time to kind of go through scriptures and things like that, but you could look Dwight Pentecost, his book, Things to Come, the most comprehensive book. It was my basic theology book on eschatology as I studied when I was in school years ago. So I had to go back and look it up to find out where he stood on that. And if I had to choose when they would be resurrected, I would choose at the end of the tribulation, simply because I would say, hey, I like Pentecost. He does a pretty good job with everything else. I'll just go ahead and take my choice with him. Now, you can choose whatever. I can tell you this, it doesn't really matter, because when it takes place, it's going to take place because God's in charge of all that. As we said, we can only speculate on a lot of things. The other thing that I get asked questions about is, what about children of that are gonna? What happens to children at the rapture? What happens to children at the rapture? So what if there's two unbelieving parents? They're not going to be raptured. As we said, only saved people will be raptured. Two unbelieving parents, and they're sleeping. The rapture takes place that night, and of course they wake up the next morning. If all children are raptured, then they would be gone, and the parents would wonder what in the world happened to their children. Now, what if one parent is saved? And I only have one verse. I'm only speculating. I have no proof at all whatsoever from Scripture, because Scripture is silent on what happens to children at the rapture. If children are saved and born again, they definitely will be raptured. But what about young children, babies, etc., who haven't come to the age of accountability yet? And then the question is, what is the age of accountability? Some people believe it's 12 years of age. Other people believe it when a child comes to the knowledge of what is right and wrong and makes a choice about that. Then they're at the age of accountability. I, again, don't have any definite answer on that one, only speculation. So what I'm saying is speculation based on only one verse in the Bible. I believe that babies and children under the age of accountability that have at least one believing parent will be raptured with that believing parent, and the unbelieving parent will be left without his wife, or she'll be left without her husband and the children if the believing parent. You say, well, what verse is that? And that's 1 Corinthians chapter 7, and it's verse 14. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the children. Otherwise your children would be unclean, but now they are holy. Now that has nothing to do with the rapture in context. It has to do with the influence that a believing parent has upon the husband and upon the children. And instead of getting a divorce or separation, stick together, because you have a greater chance to win your husband and your children to Christ. But I take that because it says the children were unclean, but now they're holy. And so possibly the children of one believing parent, if they're under the age of accountability, will be raptured. That's my thoughts. That's my opinion, and it's only speculation, but I get asked the question often. So we're trying to cover some things that have to do with the rapture, tribulation, and millennial as we get ready for our study in Revelation. So God bless you, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.